Alright, so my videos, I tried to do a general overview of what happened in the fight, just as like a recap and a breakdown. I also like to pick a topic or a theme or zero in on one specific idea that I want to really emphasize or break down in specific. So the theme of this one is hydrogen collection, or if you want to say, we're also going to talk about picking up relics and actually scoring them. So you could just call it economy. So this is a match where both sides score over 10 relics or 10 or higher relics, and as a 10 versus 10, a lot of gas is harvested, and both teams had very different styles. So we'll get right into it, and I'll show you the very first thing I want to show you with gas collection. It's a very specific, I think, unique. Maybe it's being used elsewhere, but had been doing this every game. But this white star actually blew my cooldowns, and so I didn't have it ready this time. So we're gonna look at this other guildmate of mine, a guild leader actually, running the same thing. So it's teleport. You could also do time warp if your teleport isn't very good. Also, the situation might actually be better for time warp depending on if somebody else, in my opinion, one of the first things you do when you come through the gate is have somebody with time warp active, so that everybody else who comes in will get the benefits of time warp, but then you don't have any other person following up and activating time warp at the last second and throwing everybody's time machines off and ruining your time warp. So that's sort of what I was doing here. Since I ruined my cooldowns, I wanted to make sure we had time warp up. My time warp's relatively high, especially for my level. I think it's 5 currently, 5 or 6. So I had time warp, so he didn't need it. So he's gonna come in. You see, he's got a fairly high level miner. A lot of people might not have miners this high level. Well, you'll see with the trick he pulls, two of his mining choices aren't even utilized here. So you can and I do pull this off with a much more basic build. So what he's going to do, it's going to happen fast, but what he's about to do is he's going to hit Genesis, which will create asteroids with hydrogen. His is only level 1. Level 1 is extremely good. It's a more difficult, higher tier. Well, I guess it's relative to where you're at in the game, but it is one of the later gas unlocks. So even at low levels, it's very good. And then he has Enrich, and that he's going to use Enrich after Genesis. So the moment he steps into the sector, he doesn't have to be on the asteroid. You'll see that this sector has extremely low gas, 30, 40, where I prefer to use Enrich, but we already had someone else using Enrich, I believe, over here. Enrich on these asteroids is going to be a huge benefit. They're going to go up quite a bit, and if you multiply that by 5, plus the amount you get from the littler asteroids, that's going to be a lot of gas for just one person using one cooldown. So imagine he's doing this, but over here, and you'll get a sense of how impactful this can be. So it looks like it's happening at once, but he uses Genesis first, then immediately after Enrich, and then immediately after teleport out. And then teleport directly to the gate. You don't even have to finish your waypoint that way. You don't have to get all the way there and turn around. You can just teleport right out. So he's going to teleport back to the gate, and now he can do whatever he wants. And that's why that miner doesn't need anything else. If you're willing to, you do have to willingly commit a miner to this build, or sacrifice the credits to change your current miner, which a lot of people might not want to do. But you see, when he comes back, he's got a different loadout, so this is a different miner. But he's going to come back, and now he's probably going to Genesis even more, and then Crunch. Because you see how the edges of this sector are purple. You can only use Enrich once in a White Star. Basically ever, because the White Star will end way before that will cool down. So he's gonna Genesis again with this new one. And then probably Crunch or just Harvest. Yeah, he crunches right away. And he just scored 440 gas. And we are, I don't know, less than 12 hours into the match. Probably much less than that, if I were to guess. You see all the time warp going around is moving very quickly for a miner. So my guild is fairly casual. Imagine if, let's extrapolate this to a guild that is more competitive, and all the members are willing to commit to this. You get one guy with an extremely high level Enrich. You get one of your high level dudes who can get to like 6 or 7, or maybe higher. I don't know what you're capable of, but the highest level Enrich possible. One person. And then every other person, every single member of the White Star comes in with a miner and does Genesis first before that guy with your huge enriches. And you can take a map, because remember, the map's mostly going to be symmetrical in terms of where the gas is. Even if it's not exactly, it will generally be. So let's say there's no good Serb sectors around you. You're going to have a huge gas advantage then, because you will have you'll basically, I can't remember what the cap is. It's like 13 or 16. You'll have a sector with 13 or 16 gas asteroids, and you will harvest them all at once if somebody has Crunch. And immediately you'll have a gas lead, because if the other team doesn't do that same thing, they're just stuck with the gas that they have. And gas is an unbelievably important part to winning White Stars, because if you have a close planet like this one, which is just 2 sectors away, the enemy would have to come all the way across the map to contest that planet. If everyone puts all their gas, all of that gas that you just created onto that planet, the enemy is going to have an unbelievably hard time denying you from actually harvesting the relics after having taken all this gas. And I know it's not the funnest thing to really focus on. Everybody wants to win the battles and get into the fight, and I agree, that is more fun. But I also believe that winning is fun, and I'm sure many people out there would agree. So I think that's good, at least for talking about that specific build. If you multiply what he's done by 10, and you have 10 people and a 10 versus 10, all drop Genesis in 1 or 2 sectors, you're gonna have a huge advantage. So we'll get into the actual the match here. They had 2 assassins coming at us. And this one especially is scary. He's got he doesn't have a multi-targeting weapon, which maybe is what kills him, but also makes him especially dangerous, because he actually can do damage when I have what I like to call my assassin killing ship. So it's got Delta in order to catch assassins, and Barrier in order to keep them in place, and Teleport in order to match their movements. But then Battery in order to kill them, because assassins always take multi-targeting weapons that are weaker than Battery in a 1 versus 1. So I like to catch assassins and then just battery them to death. And it's been really effective. But this guy's especially well built to counter me because he's just got a stronger ship in general. His battery is 1 or 2 levels higher than mine, and he also, because he has a stronger ship, he's also got a whole nother support module. Also, his shield is stronger, and he's also got a buddy of his giving him a pretty high level time warp. So yeah, level 6 time warp is pretty high. So he's getting a lot of boost in speed and in damage. And if my friends don't come and help me in this fight, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble because I can hold him in place, but I can't beat him in a 1 versus 1, and I can't even rocket him because I don't have EMP. So we're gonna see how this plays out. I'm gonna have to hold him in place. Well, first I just follow him, and then I hold him, and then he also holds me so that I can't start hitting his shield, because even though he will beat me in a 1 versus 1, he doesn't want a 1 versus 1. He wants to get into our supports because he's in an assassin role right now, where he's not looking to beat my battleship, he's looking to kill my economy, which is sort of ties into the theme, right? Because killing battleships essentially gains you nothing. Let's say both teams land into a huge EMP fight, and then both teams completely annihilate each other's battleships with just a huge salvo of rockets, and all the battleships are dead. Well, that doesn't change anything in terms of how the economy aspect of the game is going to go. So kills on battleships essentially mean nothing unless you actually take that kill and actually either hinder supports or just outright kill them. So this is by far their best player. Without this guy on their team, this whole match would have been a complete blowout. This guy's smart at least in getting time warp on that guy, and it seems like they had this planned or really thought out ahead of time. But you'll see here in a minute, after we knock this. So I really thought he was going to try to teleport in and try to land a kill. But I think he saw we had 5 guys and he's in a very expensive ship. So he just decides to go ahead and just bail out. The time warp guy up top waits a long time and then decides to go in, even though the supports are well out of range, and he's going right at the time warp. So this guy, he wants to get those kills, but he's just doing in a very poorly thought out way, where he stands a very low chance of actually killing anything. And you'll see the rockets just obliterate his delta shield. So then we'll move on, and we'll see down here, the enemy has a very different economy approach, and I've actually not seen this in a match before, where if we count up here, they have 4, 5, 6, 7 out of their 10 players are running miners harvesting gas, and they harvest some gas. This creates a really weird layout on the map. We always, in our games, we always warn our miners not to destroy all the nodes, because you need the nodes and sort of, so we thought we need the nodes to sort of navigate around near the warp so we don't get hit by rockets on the way back to the warp. And so that assassins don't get in behind us, we can change direction. But they just clear everything out to such a massive degree that it actually creates like a defensive zone for them, where we have, like myself, I actually, I should back up. There's an important battle that I missed, but we'll get to that in a second. So these miners create this huge zone around their warp, and they are collecting a ton of gas. And the pretty standard method, which is remote mining plus boost, and if your guy's high enough level, also crunch, and then just get. They really mastered this sort of get time warp on everybody approach, and it's surprising to me sometimes this team really understands the importance of economy, and it's what's surprising is that they don't seem to have that same sense in organizing their fights. So they just have a lot of guys hanging back on defense, and I guess their thought process is, we'll just blow them out on economy, and we won't even need to go to their side of the map because we will harvest way more gas than they could ever dream of, and we don't need to go to their side of the map. All we need to do is keep them off of our supports, and that's you'll see that it might actually have worked for them. This map ends up going south for us real quick. So I'm backing up to the beginning so that I can show you that battle, which was pretty important. So I'm bringing this video, what's it, like July, I don't know, like the 8th or 9th or something like that. And it's so this fight occurred July 3rd and July 4th, which we deliberately plan our White Stars so that they don't take place on weekends, because when people are at home, they don't really want to have to stick to their game. They prefer to like utilize their breaks at work and sort of play on a consistent schedule. And being that July 4th is sort of like a weekend within the week, we didn't really plan for that or try to avoid it. And it sort of ends up badly for us. So I'm going back now. There's that assassin going down again. We're going to take out that other assassin. And then, so this was like the second. And then as this assassin goes down, we're moving into the third, which is the day before 4th of July, which was, for me at least, a much heavier drinking day than the 4th, because you had to go back to work on the 5th. So on the 3rd, I was drinking. I'm sure a lot of my guildmates were. And we go into this battle real confident. And also very inactively. So I would have, if I had seen as this battle is unfolding, I would not have committed as far as I did. So you'll see this guy starts barrier, and I had a good long while to see that he was, and I knew the battle was about to start. But I told my team to go in, and I was not watching the game. So, and it looked like we had a 4 versus 3. One of which is this assassin with his Delta shield and all of his blown cooldowns. So I was feeling pretty strong, like that we were definitely going to win this fight. But so this guy actually I was just shit talking their battle abilities, but this guy actually does put on a good move here. He locks us down with barrier and EMP, and then the rockets start to come in. He just moves. Actually, that rocket would have got destroyed anyway. So yeah, it was maybe a wasted teleport. Maybe he had a reason for doing that. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of each individual move, but we all end up on the same asteroid, which you don't want to do, especially when I had time to see these rockets were coming. But like I said, very inactive. Also, some of our better players are up here, and not involved directly in this fight. So it goes much worse than planned, and not only does it go badly, but it seems to create a sort of panic or just demoralized us, really. After this battle, you'll see here and here, we just start charging in on low chance risks that we didn't need to take at this time. There's still over 2 days left in this match, but people just start charging in. In ways where they just had very little chance to do anything. And these are just the first two, and you'll see here that it just continues. So the first two go down, and then the second two come in, but it's a 2 versus 5 really, and the supports aren't even close to this fight. There's only one support even relevant to the fight, and he's still on the planet. So if he dies, the relic goes right back onto the planet, and they'll just lose a little bit of cooldown. But so the risk isn't even going to gain anything, even if it's successful. And it's just such a low chance risk to begin with. And then here's more. It was just one at a time. It's like any other battle. If you were to send your soldiers in one at a time against an entire army, even if you had the bigger army or the stronger army, you're going to lose if you send your soldiers in one at a time. And no amount of rockets from our warp gate, which were bountiful, were going to matter, because none of those are actually going to hit anything. So you see, from all that gas they harvested, they had 8 at one point on this planet, and plus additional at this level 10 over here, which now that our team has basically kamikazed, we can't really even contest this level 10. So here, the second part to the economy is, once you generate your relics, you have to actually score them, and that sounds obvious, but it's unbelievable how many games I'm in, and there's just tons of relics left out on the board, not just by my team but the enemy team, regardless of who was the winner or the loser. It's like crazy, because like if this were soccer, it would be like if the goal was on your side of the field and all the other team was like on the other side of the field. Why wouldn't you just score the goals? And why would you go over to where the other team is if the goals are right there? That's basically what's happening here. All we have to do is go to these relics and pick them up. But I had to time warp and like really go nuts, trying to get every last drop out of time warp, because this is my revived battleship, having come back from the cooldown. He had time warp and brought this trans all the way out to our level 10, like 5 sectors away from our warp gate. And I would have liked to picked up, well, let's see if there would have been time. Probably not. Yeah, there probably would not have been time to get a third, because I would have to actually wait for it to be generated. But yeah, so I could have, however, picked up another one here, and so that this is a very high level rocket. This guy, not on this ship, but on another ship that he wouldn't keep at the warp gate. Those are high level rockets that we're missing out on because somebody didn't want to send a lower level trans out to go grab that relic. And you'll see if he hadn't done it, no one would have done it, and then that relic would have gotten wasted. And if you look down here, we aren't really contesting. Like, there's no one even within these two whole right sectors on this side. The closest we have is this guy, and they have 4 or 5 people to deal with our one guy right now. Well, they do have to finish up this, but I feel like they should have felt pretty confident. Also, he's coming to the same place. We're not even spread out or like pushing different areas. Also, none of these guys have any sort of assassin type technology. All of it's like EMP and basically just EMP and Sanctuary. All they have to do is just let us fly into them, and the threat will be neutralized. But they sort of scramble to stop ships that I think should be easy to stop, and in the process, they leave 2 relics on this planet, and guess what? They lose by 1 point. So not only could they have tied, they could have actually beaten us if they had just picked up these relics that are right there. And I mean, really, that's what won the game for us. I think maybe they thought that we couldn't score enough to match what they were scoring, and so they just didn't want to put their trans at risk. You can see they have more trans that had open spaces, so that wasn't the issue. They just left points on the board for no reason, and not to harp on these guys too hard, because I see it a lot, and it doesn't need to happen. Every single relic, and you see we got basically every relic we imaginably could have gotten, because we knew that there was zero chance that we could actually kill them. This guy might have actually, it comes very close to killing us. And this last trans, this guy's like level 20 something in our guild, and we actually promoted him to officer because in this White Star, he was active and talking, and comes out and gets this clutch grab of a relic that gives us the win. And you'll see how close the impulsed with barrier up, and the barrier, I can't give you the tick by tick, but that barrier actually barely touches this trans. And I'm going to show you the finish here. This is also him. This ship and this ship are both him. And gets the huge EMP to actually stop with the impulse trying to zip past. But again, this guy's now he's out of cooldowns and can't do anything to catch us. And now it's just a matter of making sure time warp is on everyone. And boom. I hope you could see I was going very slow there at the end to try to just show you just how close that was. It was within minutes. It was, I believe, less than 10 minutes in which that trans gets to that gate. And that's how we win that game. Some things went really bad, and had 2 full days basically of inactive or just sloppy play due to people getting frustrated or demoralized by other people being inactive or other people being sloppy, myself included. I showed you I call it to myself in my own head, I call it the 4th of July massacre. It was a very bad fight on our part. So I hope I wasn't just for my own sake of hearing my own voice. I hope there's some things there to take away on economy. Remember at the beginning that the Genesis plus Enrich plus Teleport Out, it takes an unbelievably short amount of time to generate a ton of gas, and gas creates relics, and relics score points, and points are the only thing that actually matter in the game. You can win all the battles, but if you don't score points at the end of the game, you lose. No matter how good you felt like you played, the points are the points. Everybody enjoyed it. Comment if you had any other ideas or if I missed anything. And have a good one.